And the chairman be allowed to speak on behalf of others, and thereafter we take our decision, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the MD, we are departing from our rules. So the chairman will step forward and introduce himself, and thereafter the MD will do the same. I've already read out the names of all your other members, and of course your resume is before us. So the Senate has taken proper notice, and we have decided to deviate from our normal rules.
The Senate, President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Deputy Senate President, the Senate Leader, and other principal officers. With your kind permission, Mr. Senate President, sir, I crave your indulgence to recognize the senators representing my home state, Delta State, as follows: Senator Ned Nwoko, Senator Ede Dafinone, and Senator Joel Onowakpo Thomas. I would also like to specially recognize the Chairman, Senate Committee on Niger Delta, Senator Asuko Ekpeyong. With the protocols duly established, permit me to begin by placing on record my immense gratitude to the President and Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for finding me and 16 other eminently qualified Nigerians worthy of nomination to the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission. No doubt huge responsibilities have been thrust on our shoulders with our nomination, and if cleared by the Senate, I want to assure Nigerians on behalf of the 16 other nominees that we will not breach the confidence reposed in us by Mr. President. By way of introduction, my name is Chiedu John Ebie, an indigene of Agbalidima in the Ika South local government area of Delta State. For purposes of clarity, Mr. President, permit me to state unequivocally that Ika South local government area is one of the oil-producing local government areas in Delta State by virtue of being host to OML 147 operated by Pan Ocean Oil Corporation. I was born to the family of late Professor John and Mrs. Eunice Ebie on the 2nd of January, 1970. My formative years were spent between Ibadan and Benin City, where I attended nursery and primary schools. Thereafter, I was privileged to attend Air Force Military School, JOS, between 1981 and 1986, where I obtained my GCO levels. I then returned to Benin City and I was admitted into University of Benin and graduated with honors from the Faculty of Law in 1991. As is mandatory with every law graduate seeking to practice the law profession, I proceeded to the Nigerian Law School, Lagos, and was called to the Nigerian Bar on the 16th of December, 1992. In my quest for further knowledge, I enrolled for and obtained a postgraduate diploma in laws from the University of London in 2012. My entire career has been spent in Nigeria and spans a broad spectrum of the private and public sectors of the economy. Starting out as a young lawyer, I did my mandatory youth service corps in the legal department of Broad Bank of Nigeria Limited between 1992 and 1993. From 1993 up to 2010, I worked in some of the most prestigious law firms in Nigeria, particularly Aluko and Oyebode, where I had the privilege of working with the senator representing Ondo Central, distinguished Senator Adeni Adegbomire, SAN, as one of his junior colleagues. During my time in law practice, I have garnered invaluable knowledge and experience in corporate and commercial law, and I rose through the ranks from an associate counsel to a partner. Between 2010 and 2015, having been part of a group of investors that acquired a marginal field license in the early 2000s, my career path veered from the business of law practice to the oil and gas industry, where I was actively involved in the management and development of a marginal field asset in the Niger Delta. To be precise, during this period, I managed the affairs of Millennium Oil and Gas Company Limited, operators of the Oza Marginal Field onshore OML 11. After 22 years in the private sector, a new chapter in my work life commenced, this time in the public sector, with my appointment into the Delta State government as a member of the State Executive Council and Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education. While serving in this capacity between July 2015 and May 2019, I ensured that significant reforms and improvements were brought to bear in the primary and secondary educational sector of Delta State. On the 3rd of June 2019, I was elevated to the position of Secretary to the Delta State government. Alluding to my strong qualities and dedication to serve, at my inauguration, the then governor made the following statements about me, and I quote, "Mr. Ebie is a fine gentleman who served meritoriously as Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education in the first tenure of this administration. His civility, analytical depth, communication skills, and diligence are essential qualities needed for the office of the Secretary to the State government. In addition to these, modern statecraft with all its complexities and challenges requires team players, proactive leaders, and men with large appetite for work. Mr. Ebie meets this criteria, and I'm convinced he is well equipped to enrich the social, political, and economic narrative of our dear state." End of quote. I went on to hold the position of Secretary to the State government till the dissolution of the State Executive Council on the 18th of May 2021. Following my disengagement from the Delta State government, I returned to the private sector, where I engaged in consultancy work in the oil industry. Politically, I was the co-convener of Delta Unity Group, a pan-Delta political association promoting unity and brotherliness within the political domain of Delta State. It gives me utmost pleasure to state that the DUG structure was utilized for effective and cohesive grassroots mobilization of progressive candidates in Delta State in the 2023 general elections. In closing, permit me, Mr. President and distinguished senators, to state that the experience I have garnered in the public and private sector has imbibed in me the values, grit, and commitment necessary for the task ahead of chairing the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission, if confirmed by the Senate. More importantly, my public life has afforded me the opportunity to understand the dire needs of the region, particularly as Secretary to the State Government and Secretary of the State Security Council, where issues of serious importance, such as stakeholder disputes and security in the oil-bearing communities, including pipeline vandalism and oil theft, were discussed at the meetings, and implementation of the decisions arrived at those meetings mostly rests with the SSG. Mr. Senate President, sitting as chair, distinguished senators, I thank you very much for your time and attention.